So today I'm going to drive this 2013 ES300 Hybrid H until it runs out of gas. I figure it's going to go at least 100 kilometers, 60 miles or so. But yeah, we're going to see what happens. Before the end of this video, write in the comments how far you think I'm going to drive on empty. Okay, so I'm almost at 0 kilometers of range. And by the way, I will be putting all of these in miles. So right now on this tank, I have 834 kilometers I've driven on this sole tank, which is pretty good. And I'm going to reset trip B in a second once I get to 0 kilometers of range and see how much reserve is in the tank on that. And of course, trip A will have the total tank until I run out. So yeah, we're almost there, 1 kilometer left. And there we go. No kilometers of range left. Of course, there is a reserve in this tank. Let's see how far we can go. I'm gonna check back every 50 kilometers or so, but right now I am gonna zero out my trip B. There we go, trip B is at 0. That will let us know how long or how far we've gone on this empty tank, so-called empty tank, and how far you could make it in a car like this if you aren't empty, or how long you could drive on empty. I've always wanted to know, so we're gonna do it today. Okay, so I'm 50 kilometers in and the gas gauge is well below the empty mark. I feel like I'm on an episode of Seinfeld where Kramer and the car sales guy are seeing how far they can take the car before it runs out of gas, and I just keep going and going. Anyway, so 50 kilometers, you can see there on my display, that's 6.3 liters per 100 kilometers. That's my tank average since I refilled, 800 and whatever kilometers we're at now. I have been doing this on the highway so far, driving just at or above the speed limit, kind of like you would be doing if you're running out of gas and you wanted to conserve fuel. Obviously, you're not going to be racing down the highway. So very similar to real life scenario if you were running out of gas. I'm probably going to do about another 30 to 50 kilometers on the highway because I don't want to run out on the highway. It's just too dangerous. And this car really doesn't have a big difference between the highway and the city driving when it comes to the miles per gallon. So yeah, we'll pull off in another 50 kilometers or so and I will update you at that point. Okay, we're at the 100 kilometer mark, or 62 miles I've driven so far on empty. Still on the highway. I'm going to stay on the highway probably for another 20 kilometers and see how it goes. All right, check back with you in a minute. So I'm just getting off the highway now, onto the side streets, a little bit safer. Plus it's good to mix up the driving to get a combination of the both. And I'm at what, 126 kilometers so far. That's about 75, 80 miles. And yeah, we're going to keep going here. I was just thinking, actually, I've never run out of gas in a vehicle. I'm 47 years old. I've never once run out of gas and had to fill it up at the side of the road. So this is going to be a first for me. So makes it double exciting. So I was going to check back in at 150 kilometers, but I honestly don't know if I'm going to make it there. So I said, let's do 25 kilometer intervals from now on. So I'll check back now at 150 kilometers and let you know how I'm doing. All right, just past 150 kilometers on empty. That's about 95 miles or so, closing in on that 100-mile mark, which is pretty good. So yeah, gonna keep on going here. I'm doing between 60 and 80 kilometers per hour right now on the road I'm on. So yeah, I don't know how much more we got, but we're gonna find out. So we made it to 160 kilometers or 100 miles. That's a pretty big milestone. So gonna keep going. Okay, so I'm totally out of fuel now. I noticed because the hybrid was just on. So I got to pull over, which is pretty cool in a hybrid. You get to pull over on the electric power, but that only lasts so long. But I was going above, there's a notch on the power gauge where you go over that, it kicks out a hybrid automatically, and it didn't do it now. It stayed in hybrid, which is crazy. So now if I am to just give it some gas right now, I'm just backing up in a parking lot. If I'm gonna give it some gas or put it in power mode, yeah, nothing. There's no gas engine. So that's pretty good. I got to pull over in a parking lot. Now I'm going to, yeah, fill it up. I got a few liters of gas with me, enough to get me to the closest gas station. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. I got, like you saw, 160 kilometers, 100 miles or so of range after it's empty. I filled it up with a few liters of gas. It didn't even move the needle. It still says refuel now. And looking at trip A there, we have 996 kilometers on the tank of gas, which is phenomenal. This car factory is rated a little bit higher than that, but most people don't get that fuel economy. My tank average is 6.2, and again, I'll put everything in miles also on the screen. So thanks for watching, and until the next one, I'll see you then.